quorum, which is wonderful. Thank you so much for attending. I promise to keep it short tonight. Do we have anybody on for public participation? It looks like we do have somebody who is calling in. If you would like to unmute yourself, you have the ability to talk now.
Good evening, Chairwoman McMurray. This is Diane Lauricella, 21
Hi.
Little Fox Lane. I have to call in tonight. I'm not on Zoom, but thank you for allowing me to do so. I'm glad we have that alternative. Tonight, I looked over the agenda, and I know that under new business with our fire department, I, of course, just have a long-time relationship with various members of the fire department, care about the work they do. And the reason I decided to speak, though, is I wanted to know, in this, you're voting on $400,000 improvements to the property. And I'm aware of the beautiful building there. It's a historic-looking building. But because it's $400,000, before we expend that kind of money, what alternative sites? Maybe the time has come, in light of the new equipment and the needs and the technology needed in our fire department operations, maybe the time has come for us to look at a different building that can accommodate the newer, bigger equipment, et cetera. I know a lot of money, at least in-kind money, which is worth something, was expended within the last 10, 12 years on an interior renovation of the building. I know it states in the letter, transmittal letter, that major construction was done in the 80s. I just think that spending almost $500,000 on a building that we don't own, but also maybe we've outgrown this building, even though it is beautiful. I love the building, but I think maybe there might be other city-owned properties in East Norwalk that could become a newer and better version. And I wanted just to know, were any alternative sites and alternatives to this current $400,000 floor lowering plan included? The other reason I was looking at it was because I was wondering, what can we do to include green architecture and infrastructure planning? In this particular request, I guess maybe there's not much, but I would assume there's going to be a change of some of the plumbing and the electrical, and maybe there's something we could add on as far as looking at geothermal, working with the third taxing district. I'm not sure there is enough sunlight available for solar panels on the roof or in the backyard, ground mounted. So these are the types of things that I'd love to see us look at every time we have any building renovation or construction plans put before us. And I look forward to listening to the police department's discussion of the behavioral unit. I think it's a terrific idea, and I look forward to hearing about that. Have a nice evening.
Thank you so much. All right, I don't see anybody else here for public participation, so I'll go ahead and close that. Can I have, are there any changes or corrections to the minutes for our August 24th meeting? We did not have a September meeting. No, okay.
Jen, I think you meant that we had a July meeting, but we didn't have an August meeting.
Yes, that's exactly what I meant. Thank you. We had a July meeting. Does anybody have any corrections or notes on the July minutes? Thank you. Seeing and hearing none, I will call for the vote. All those in favor of passing the minutes, please say aye or raise your hand.
Aye.
Thank you so much. We are moving on to new business. We have one action item which relates to the fire department this evening. Authorize the Mayor Harry W. Rilling to execute a funding agreement and any other documents necessary to receive $400,000 of funds from the third taxing district to be used to make improvements to lease property at 56 Van Zant Street necessary to accommodate new fire apparatus. Can I have a motion, please? Thank you, Councilmember Goldstein. Thank you. I appreciate that. So today we have Mark Conti here to discuss this item and answer any questions that we might have. Mark, do you want to just say a few things about this? I know we've discussed it a little bit in the past, but it's worth revisiting.
So just to clarify, the third taxing district actually owns the building and we lease it from sort of an open end lease. What they did was I approached them in actually maybe about a year and a half ago about renovating the floor. The agreement is we renovated the interior of the building, as was mentioned earlier, and they're pretty much responsible for the structural part of their building. So they agreed. They said, yeah, we definitely want to retain you here. Just to comment on that, alternate sites actually were looked at. I looked at, areas in Fitch Street, different garages. I looked at even where our training tower is. There's really not a feasible site in East Newark doesn't have a lot of that business district area. So this is and third taxing district was very intent, and they're very excited to retain us there. So they actually are funding the money to complete $400,000. It's actually not the city. I'm just running the project. So just for clarification for everybody, so they know, so the committee knows. In 1980s, that they renovated the building, they put a concrete slab on, which basically it worked for a long time, but the apparatus, and it's really the main reason why the apparatus has gotten bigger over the time, has to do with emissions. It has to do with a lot of there's new DEF fuel tanks, there's new exhaust pipes that are put in, and the trucks have just gotten bigger to accommodate the bigger engines is really what's happened. So pretty much what we're going to do is just take that floor and I have an RFP out for engineer right now that I think ends October 16th. And we're going to renovate the whole floor, and we're going to lower it down, and it's going to be flush with the original floor. The original wood floor is going to remain behind it. And it's really going to be to the original elevation of the building. And from after that, we're going to have a capacity rating that'll accommodate the engine company pretty much for as long as we can imagine, because we're actually using the biggest engine we have to use for capacity ratings. And all of our two new engines that we were funded for are actually lower and actually lighter than this one engine we have. So we're using the highest one we'll ever have as our capacity. So we'll never be near it. And that's the plan, is to renovate it. So actually, like was mentioned before, so all the renovation work we did is not all for naught either. So everything is, the building will essentially be new inside.
Councilmember Goldstein.
Thank you, Mark. Just two quick questions. One, how does it work in terms of, I think you made an important clarification there that's written in the back of the material, which is that actually it's the third taxing district who will be paying for this. Has the third taxing district actually voted to allocate those funds already, or is that funding subject to our approving this? I just don't know the order of operations.
Yeah, I attended several meetings earlier this year, and they voted, I think it was in April, to fund it. So it is completely funded as of July 1st.
And okay, and then let's say this goes through at the next council meeting. What's your? I think you described what is going to happen, but I didn't get a sense of the timeline of when you expect the renovations to be complete. Sure.
So what the plan is right now, we actually have an RFP out for an engineer for drawings, who's good engineer with administrative services. That closes October 16th. Once I get those, I'm going to go out for bid for the contractor. And really, this project is, as soon as we get through all the process, we get a contractor, we are going to start the process. And Engine 3 is going to be relocated to our apparatus maintenance, as we've done in the past and we're hoping this is maybe a 2 to 3 month project, if that, depending upon how things go, and hopefully sooner, but that's just our time frame I want to get. But our goal is really to move this forward as soon as we can, because we are our Engine 3 right now, we actually are looking to try to refurbish that as well. We have a couple companies coming in, and so when the new engines come in, we want to replace it with a more recent engine. So
that's great. So hopefully, just based on the timeline, the sense I'm getting is late winter, early spring, hopefully, is when this is completed.
So yeah, that's exactly. Barring any delays, if I can make all the meetings, my goal, honestly, my goal is if I can get the project started, like you said, even if it's late winter or early spring, we're in good shape. we can get the project.
Mhm. All right, thank you.
You're welcome.
Mark, two things I wanted to ask about this. One is, what is the scope outside of the flooring? Because I know our speaker this evening asked about plumbing, electrical, things like that. I'm not sure that any of that is part of this project, is it?
No, it's not. There actually is. It's actually a really small scope. It is the floor that is right underneath the apparatus, and that's it. And
Okay.
and all of the we're actually fortunate the way the building is built is all of the utilities are on the side. So it's really not going to affect anything, you know, and we even already have a drain in the floor. So we're reconnecting to that drain in the floor.
Great.
So this
And
is
then-
this is a very localized project. It's
I
just
just want, yeah, I figured it was. I just wanted to confirm. And then
Mhm.
secondly, I know you said the engine's going to be relocated during the construction of this. What actually happens to that firehouse in the interim? Like, is another fire station answering calls during that time, or how is that going to work in terms
So
of
the way
the
we'll
boardwalk
do
here?
that is they'll still answer their calls. And we like we do, it's almost like we do when people are out of service in different companies. We said we have Westport Avenue Company. We may have them responding on there during the day, and maybe engine 3 go to station, we call it station 6, to the apparatus maintenance at night, because there
Okay.
isn't enough quarters at 4. So yeah, we make do just like we do every day when we do training, and we relocate companies to cover different different districts. So
I
there'll
have to
always be
ask,
coverage
you
there.
know, I have to ask, it's my neighborhood, so please
There will always be coverage there.
set the house on fire or something. Does anybody else have any other questions? All right, I will call for the vote. All of those in favor, please say aye or raise your hand.
Aye.
Thank you, Diana.
Aye.
Thank you. That's unanimous. No, that's okay. Thank you. I appreciate it. All right. Thank you so much. I appreciate that. That was the only action item on the agenda tonight. But we have 2 discussion items. I briefly wanted to just mention that October 21st is the Touch a Truck and open house event, which is always a super fun event. Big kids and little kids alike love that. So I just want to thank everybody who is helping to put that on. Michelle, is there anything else you want to add with regards to that?
I think really this year we're expanding it a little bit beyond what we've done in the past. So we'll have the health department, the school district, community services. I think there's 1 or 2 more departments, like economic development, obviously TMP, and I'm forgetting somebody who will again be joining us for the first time. And really, again, focusing on some of the programs that they offer to residents. So when families do come in, they'll be able to see a little bit more and learn a little bit more about how they can get help, and then, you know, some of the activities that are going on. Oh, and Parks and Rec.
Oh, great. Well, that's wonderful. I'm glad to hear that it's expanding, especially since I know we had it last year, but we were on hiatus a couple years because of COVID. So it's coming back bigger and better. That's great. So the next discussion item, I'm going to turn it over to Chief Walsh. We have the police department here to just speak about the behavioral health unit that we voted on at the full council meeting to extend the contract for the last 2 meetings ago, I guess it was. And I just thought it would be a good time for us to sort of talk about how that program is helping both the police department, but also our citizens, and the good work that unit has sort of helped with and done, and why we've decided to sort of move forward with it in the future. So Chief Walsh, do you want to speak to that briefly?
Yes, Councilwoman McCure and committee. Yes, the whole intention last year when we started the behavioral health unit was to divert traditional law enforcement resources away from calls such as people who are suffering from emotional disorders, psychiatric disorders, and more or less steer those calls to individuals that are best suited to handle those kind of situations, such as social workers, clinicians, medical field people, and people who are especially trained to deal with those kind of situations. And most of the discussion that occurred at the last common council meeting, was there any data that we have been tracking previously and after? And just with my assessment since that meeting. I have raw data that shows that just all our calls are in the CAD, computer aided dispatch through NextGen. So everything that we do is categorized, and we can pull a lot of data from our systems. From 2020, October 1st, 2020 to October 1st, 2021, the police department responded to 633 specific calls of emotionally disturbed persons and psychiatric police assist type calls. From October 1st, 2021 to October 1st, 2022 was 518 calls. So from 2020 to 21, 633, 2021 October to October 1st, 2022 is 518. We went live with the behavioral health unit just about October 1st, 2022. That's why I use that variable to grab the data. From October 1st, 2022 to October 1st, 2023, the police department have responded to 374. So you could see there has been a considerable, significant variable drop in calls for service that patrol is responding to when it comes to psychiatric and emotionally disturbed calls for service. Today, I don't have the actual. I used October 1st. I pulled the numbers this past Monday. I know we're not there, but just from listening on the radio, we do see a significant drops in patrol responses to psychiatric calls. They are still occurring when behavioral health unit is on follow-ups and just dealing with a lot of referrals that they get on a daily basis. They're averaging 35 to 40 calls a month. So we're into our 12th month. So we're probably about close to 400 calls that they have deferred or initiated since the initiation of the unit. So they track their data. So it has been effective. And as I stated at the last Common Council meeting, we have onboarded Liberation. So not only do we partner with Recovery, which supplies who we contract with for the 2 full-time social workers, we do have a grant program with Liberation Network that provides what's called the CLEAR program, and they come down twice a week for 8 hours in totality, and they follow up on all our overdoses, and they provide assistance for addiction recovery. They provide counseling and clinicians to the families and survivors and people who are in the household and have to deal with any individual who's suffering from addiction. So it's a growing program. It's a success. We follow the Stanford police model, and their program has been a success in discussions with Chief Shaw and their program coordinator. So it's a win on all fronts so far.
I'm really glad to hear that. And thank you so much for, sort of bringing this to our attention, a year ago when we implemented it. And thank you for keeping us updated. Does anybody have any questions? Go ahead, Josh.
Yeah. First of all, I think this is incredibly important. And I think that the data, Chief Walsh, that you've supplied tonight is really helpful. And so obviously shows how effective a program like this is. I guess that data from October 122 to October 123, that's at 1.5, behavioral health social workers. Now you're upgrading to 2, which was approved a couple of weeks ago. When does the department start working at 2 full-time? And do you see any potential fluctuation in those numbers, essentially a decrease in how many patrol calls they're taking that the behavioral health unit can take instead as a result of that increase?
They were going through the interview process last week for the second clinician.
Okay.
So they haven't onboarded her or him yet. So hopefully we could continue this pattern and continue with the referrals and see a decline. I think we'll always see a number that patrol responds to at different hours because, midnight, people still going crisis.
Oh, sure.
In the middle of the night and other issues. So we won't be able to, as long as I think the first year of Stanford's model, they saw a 40% drop. So I think that we're following that model. So any considerable drop like that is a success.
Absolutely. And that's, I think that's really important to show to show to the public. And that's why I appreciate, Jen, that you've put this on tonight's agenda, because it's important to show the public that this is working. So thank you, Chief Walsh, and thank you to all the partnerships and people in the department who've made this a success, because this was not a given. I just, from my own perspective, I'm deeply appreciative.
Yeah, you're welcome. And it has been a lot of work behind the scenes to get this fruition last year, and the help of the Common Council in this committee right here getting it onboarded. We're grateful of that.
Councilmember Revelous.
Hey, thank you. I just have a processes question of sorts. I'm glad that this is happening. Sorry for the background singer. When does a person actually interact with how behavioral specialists of sorts? Like when you have a call, you see somebody on the streets, whatever. Do they assist you there, or you take them in and they get assessed and say, hey, I think we need your services with this person we just took in? Like I'm just curious on when does someone that you see that needs the engagement of, I'm going to say, for lack of better words, clinician, till when they actually get the clinician?
Yeah, that's a great question. We have several sources where the BHU gets information. We actually created an email address within the police department that the sworn officers use. So if they go on a call at 3:00 in the morning, they go to the BHU email address. They throw the case number in, and they give them names, and they give them some of them specifics. And that is a referral, a police department referral internally. So what they'll do is then they'll follow up in the case the next day when they come into work. So they'll drive out there and make contact. The behavioral health unit has partnered with the community care team. So there are other sources in the community where they get emails and referrals via phone about issues within the community. So they'll self-initiate a contact, and through messaging and other resources that we've put out, the police department has put out, people have called the unit or possibly just emailed the unit, or we have a family member call. And probably a fourth way is that just we have a morning report every morning at 6 a.m. A morning report goes out to all the officers, and they also get it about all the calls for service from the previous day, so they could scan that and view that for anything that will catch their eye and say, okay, let me look at this case number and see if there's something I can initiate there.
Mhm. So with that being said, then in that process, has it helped in alleviating the initial work needed for cops when dealing with someone who's just really truly needing of mental health services? Or does that still cause some initial need that's a bit cumbersome for the police department?
It has shown, the data has shown that we have a drop in calls for service for patrol.
Okay,
So
great.
that has occurred, and it could be a combination. When you study social sciences, it could be a culmination of many reasons, but based on that, it appears that we do have a measurement that we could say that this program is working.
So I'm only asking because I really do like that this is here. This was a call because, an ask that was happening, but I really wanted to see if it's alleviating some of the pressures on the police department, and then internally causing for the community to understand that those resources are directly generated to helping someone in that position, not that they're going to be like taken in intakes, booked or locked up, and then finally get someone. I'm just wondering the process. Not that it's bad either way. It's just I'm trying to see the process for like a community could understand like how this is bettering and how this is different and how this is responding to the call of behavioral need versus what's the word? Not, an arrest. I
Yeah,
couldn't think of the word.
versus a criminal. Yeah, so,
Right, thank you.
so a police assist or
Yeah.
a criminal matter. Yeah, I understand what you're saying.
Yeah.
No, I'm gonna say 99.9% of them come on the get initiated from the police assist
Mhm.
standpoint.
Beautiful.
Yeah, through medical calls, we're very busy with medical. Just we are designated first responders in the city and all.
Mhm.
We want every single medical call, if it be diabetes or a fall or something like that. So the officers are always interacting with the community and picking up information, and some of the referrals even come from there.
Okay, I appreciate the answers. Thank you so much.
You're welcome.
Any other questions or comments regarding BHU? Thank you. Under 30 minutes, I will call for adjournment.
Motion to adjourn.
Thank you, Councilmember Mavelus. All those in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Good night, everybody. Thank you.
Shortest committee meeting ever. Thank you, everyone. Take care.
Bye. Take
Bye.
care. Bye.